Hey everybody, I'm Josh Jackson from WPSculptor.com. Thank you so much for joining me. In this step-by-step video tutorial, I'll be walking you through how to create a customizable website with WordPress using a wonderful free WordPress theme called Virtue. Virtue is an excellent theme to use if you want a professional website with customizable color options. I really enjoyed working with it, and I'm sure you will too. As always, this tutorial is comprehensive so that everyone, including absolute beginners, can easily follow along. If you do find the video helpful, please don't forget to like the video on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, comment on the video, and add the video as a favorite. These things really help me out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. In just a moment, I'll walk you through the exact website I'm going to show you how to create, but first, I'll start with a bullet list. The following step-by-step video tutorial includes setting up a domain name and hosting account with HostGator.com, getting your first month of web hosting for just 1 cent, installing WordPress onto your hosting account, downloading and installing the free mobile-friendly Virtue theme from Cadence Themes, creating pages, creating navigation menus with drop-down functionality, adding icons to your navigation menus, specifying which page is your home page and which page is your optional blog page, adding text and image content to your pages using the visual editor, finding free high-quality stock photos to use on your website, creating a contact page that includes a contact form, downloading and installing WordPress plugins, adding a YouTube video to your pages, creating an image gallery with a lightbox effect, completely customizing your site with your own color scheme and using free online resources to come up with color scheme ideas, creating a custom logo, using colors or repeatable textures for your site background, using high-resolution photographs for your site background, general Virtue theme settings including custom fonts and additional color customizations, setting up a home page, adding an icon menu to the home page, adding an optional slideshow and cropping images to fit perfectly on your slideshow, adding text over your slides and making your slides clickable links to other pages, setting up an optional portfolio carousel on your home page, setting up an optional blog and going over blog categories and comment settings, discussing widgets and widget areas and adding several widgets to enhance the functionality of your site, basic WordPress settings, and more. Alright, this is the exact website I'm going to show you how to create step by step without skipping any steps. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to set up a domain name and hosting account with a company called HostGator.com. Now, my actual domain name is quickwebsitecreation.com, but because I don't want to have to purchase a new domain name every time I make a new video tutorial, I'm using a subdomain, which is outdooradventure.quickwebsitecreation.com, but you'll be able to set up your own domain name. Then we're going to install WordPress onto our hosting account and download and install the free version of the Virtue theme, which is what you see here. And we'll be able to customize the theme's color scheme, and I'm using a blue color scheme as you can see, but you'll be able to use any color scheme that you want. I'm going to show you several free online tools to help you find colors that go well together, and that's exactly what I did to find this red color for my logo. I'm going to show you another free resource that you can use online to design your logo. You'll be able to set up navigation menus with drop-down functionality like you see here. And also, Virtue comes with hundreds of icons that you can use on your navigation menus if you choose to, and these are what I have at the top here. Then I'm going to show you how to set up this optional homepage slideshow, and you can also add text to your slides and make them clickable links to other pages like this one. And if I click on this, it's going to take me to my image gallery page, and I'm going to show you how to add an image gallery to your site with a lightbox effect that you see here when we click on these. You can click through and just click out here to exit. Then let's go back, and I'm going to show you where to get these amazing free high quality stock photos that I'm using for my website. And I'm going to show you how to crop images to fit onto your slideshow and still be high quality images. There's a free online resource that we're going to use for that. I'm going to show you how to use colors or photographs for your site background, like this background photo of a sunset. I'm also going to show you how to use what are called repeatable patterns on your backgrounds, which is another neat effect. I'm going to show you how to add content to your home page, and then if we scroll down, I'm going to show you how to set up these icon menus that can be clicked on, and they will redirect users to whatever page you specify. Also, you have access to the same hundreds of icons that we used for the icon navigation menu up above, and you can of course customize the text for these icon menus. Then I'm going to show you how to set up an optional portfolio carousel on your front page, and each of these can be clicked on and take you to the portfolio item page that you'll learn how to set up. Let's go back here. I'm going to show you how to set up an optional blog on your website, and then how to add your most recent blog posts to your front page if you wanted to. And we'll of course go over comment settings and how to organize your blog into categories to make it easy for your users to browse your content. We're also going to discuss widgets and widget areas, and the footer has 4 different widget areas, and we have a widget set up in each one. We're going to go over all of that, and also let's scroll up. We also have the option to include the search bar at the top, and this is optional, so you'll learn how to take that off if you wanted to. And then we're going to go over using the visual editor to add text and images to your website, like you see here on our About page. And you also have a sidebar widget area that you see here, and I'll walk you through how to set that up as well. And I'm also going to show you how to add YouTube videos to your pages like this. And let's go back to the home page. I also want to point out that the Virtue theme is mobile friendly, which means it will resize nicely for mobile devices like you see here. And you'll be able to set up a mobile menu like this as well, so that your site functions great on mobile devices. And all of this I'm going to show you how to create step by step without skipping anything, so that everyone, including absolute WordPress and web design beginners, will be able to easily follow along. Alright, the first thing we need to do is set up a hosting account and a domain name, and for that I highly recommend using a company called HostGator.com. They've got a wonderful product and service and excellent pricing, and they also have an option for you to pay by the month, which makes it easier and cheaper to get started. So let's go ahead and go to HostGator.com. And then click on Web Hosting here at the top. And we'll scroll down. And we'll go over these options. You have 3 different options here, and as you can see, they're all currently 20% off. I'm going to show you how to get an even better deal than that. The hatchling plan is going to be your cheapest plan because it's only for hosting 1 domain on that account. The baby plan is a great value. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can host as many domains as you want on one account. So if you plan on having multiple websites, or if you currently have multiple websites, this is going to be a great option for you. And then the business plan has this free private security feature and the free toll-free number. Most people probably don't need that. So we're going to go with the baby plan for now. Just click on Sign Up Now. Alright, the first thing you need to do is choose a domain, and of course a domain is what your users would type into their web browser to access your website, such as google.com or amazon.com. If you already have a domain with another company, such as godaddy.com, you could click on this tab here, and you would enter your current domain there and complete the rest of the sign-up process, and then HostGator will send you special instructions for how to link your hosting account with your domain name. If you need to register a new domain, stay on this tab here. And I actually already own my domain name, which is quickwebsitecreation.com. And because I don't want to have to purchase a new domain name every time I make a new video tutorial, I'm going to use a subdomain, and for this tutorial it's going to be outdooradventure.quickwebsitecreation.com. But in your case, you will need to register a new domain name if you don't have one. So just to show you what that would look like, you would enter the domain name that you want in this box here, and we'll just type in outdooradventure. And then you have several different endings. We have the .com and then all of these other ones. We're going to choose the .com. So once we select that, it's going to tell us whether or not this outdooradventure.com domain is available. And you can see here that it is currently not available. And it also tells you that these other endings, the .net, .info, .org, these other endings aren't available either. So that just means we have to get a little more creative with it and try again. So this time I'm going to type in Outdoor Adventure Pro, and I'm going to select .com again. So as you can see here, this particular domain, outdooradventurepro.com, is available. And it automatically checks that for you, and if you wanted to add these other domain endings, you could do that by checking the boxes here. But we're just going to leave it to outdooradventurepro.com. Then we're going to scroll down. And the next thing you need to do is choose your hosting plan, and we already decided we wanted to go with the baby plan, so you would choose that here and make sure that's selected. And then the billing cycle, you would select that here. We're going to choose to do 1 month at a time, and this is just going to be easier and cheaper to get started that way. And then you'll choose a username following the criteria below here, and do the same with a security pin, and be sure to remember that, both of those. And then you're going to scroll down and enter your billing information here, And then you can either pay with a credit card or pay with PayPal, and you would enter your payment information here. Then scroll down. And by default, sometimes these additional services are added on. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck these. And you can always add these later, but usually it's just good to get started as cheap as possible for most people. So we're just going to uncheck these options and then scroll down. Now this coupon code, Snappy, gives you 20% off of your hosting purchase. I've got a couple of different coupons that give you a better discount than that. The first one is WP Sculptor 1 cent, and click on validate, and this is going to give you your first month of web hosting for just 1 cent. So as you can see here, the domain is going to be $12.95, and that's going to cover you for a full year for your domain. And then your first month of web hosting is just 1 cent, and that's a discount from the $9.95 that it usually is. So if you did this option, your first month of hosting would be 1 cent, and then every month thereafter you would be billed $9.95 a month. Now the other option, the other coupon code that I have is WP Sculptor 25. Click on validate, and this is going to give you 25% off your entire hosting order here. So if you're purchasing multiple months at once, a lot of times you'll save more this way using the 25% off coupon. But we're going to leave it to the WP Sculptor 1 cent. Click on validate. And I do want to point out that not only do these coupon codes give you an additional discount on your hosting purchase, they also help support me. I get a small commission from HostGator for referring you if you use my coupon codes, and I really appreciate that. That's a great way to support me and support these videos. So let's scroll down, and you can see you get free 24/7 customer support, you get free instant account activation, a 45-day money-back guarantee, and your domain registration is going to cost $12.95, and that's going to cover you for an entire year, so you won't have to worry about that for a year. And your first month of hosting is going to be just 1 cent with the WP Sculptor 1 cent coupon code. And after that, you would be billed $9.95 a month as long as you continue to want your hosting account. And your total is going to be $12.96. And go ahead and click on that you've read and agree to the terms and conditions, and click on Checkout Now. Alright, after you've signed up for your hosting account, give HostGator about 15 minutes or so to set up your account, and then check your email. You should have an email from sales@hostgator.com. Go ahead and click on that. And there are several different important variables that you need from this email, so make sure you save this email. You have your link to your control panel here, and then the username that you specified when you signed up for hosting, and then you have an automatically generated password that HostGator generated for you to log into your cPanel. We're going to need all three of those. Go ahead and click on the link to your control panel, and then go back, and you're going to copy the username and paste that in there, and then you're going to copy and paste the password. Make sure you don't get any additional characters, and be sure to get all of the characters. Copy that, and you're going to paste that in. Of course, I've already changed mine. And then click on Login. And we can exit out of that and scroll down towards the bottom under the Software/Services section and click on Quick Install. Now you shouldn't have anything on the right side of the screen here like I do. I've got all these subdomains, and each subdomain has a WordPress installation on it, but yours should be blank. Go ahead and click on WordPress here on the left and click on Continue. And then here again, you should only have your domain name. I've got a subdomain that we're going to use, so I'm going to select that, but you would select your domain name. I'm going to select outdooradventure.quickwebsitecreation.com, and I'm going to uncheck Enable Auto Upgrades, and then you need to fill out an email and give your website a title. You can always change this later, but I'm just going to say Outdoor Adventure, and you need a username and your first and your last name, and then go ahead and click on Install Now. Alright, be sure to remember this username that you just specified, and also make sure you save this password that was automatically generated for you. That's what you're going to need to log into the back end of your WordPress website for the first time. And of course, we'll be changing this password to something that you can actually remember. Now, before we can actually access our website, your domain name has to do what's called propagate, and this can take several hours, sometimes more, and this has nothing to do with HostGator. It depends on several different variables such as your physical location and your internet service provider, stuff like that. So just be patient with it, and we'll check back here after several hours. Alright, after a while we can check back to see if our domain has propagated, and to do that we're just going to open a new tab, and all you do is type in your website domain, and in our case it's going to be outdooradventure.quickwebsitecreation.com. And once you get something that looks like this is what a brand new default WordPress installation looks like, and this is the 2014 theme that currently comes with WordPress installation. And if you're watching this video in the future, you will likely have a different default theme, but it should look something like this. And of course we're going to change the look and feel of this up completely. Now, to log in to the back end of your WordPress website, let's go back to quick install, and you see here the admin area is your domain /wp-admin, and then we'll use the credentials here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this password and then go back to this other tab, and I'm going to add at the end of it /wp-admin, so your domain /wp-admin, and then we're going to type in our username, and I'm going to paste in that password, click on login, and this is what the back end of your WordPress website looks like. And this here at the top, this is called the admin bar, and you can click on your website title here in the top left, and that will take you to the front end, and you can click on it if you're on the front end and be taken back to the back end. And this admin bar will only show up on your computer screen when you're logged into your site, and we'll go over how to log out in just a moment when we change our password. Now, before we really start to dig in deep here, let's take care of a few housekeeping items. We're going to go to plugins and click on installed plugins and scroll down. We're going to deactivate and delete this WP Supercache plugin. It's a great plugin to have as it can help speed up your website, but it may interfere with seeing changes that you make to your site right away, and since we're going to be making a lot of changes, we'll just deactivate and delete it, and you can always reinstall it later. So click on deactivate and then scroll down, and we're going to click on delete under WP Supercache and click on yes, delete these files and data. Alright, and the next thing we're going to do is change our password to something we can actually remember. So go to users and click on all users, and you should just have the one user. Hover over your username and click on edit, and then you're going to scroll down, and where it says new password, you're going to type in whatever password you want, and then type it in again, and scroll down and click on update profile. It's very important that you always save changes that you make to your site as soon as you make them, otherwise they will not take effect. And then the next thing we're going to do is go to settings and click on general, and this is where you can change your site title and your tagline, and we're going to leave our site title to Outdoor Adventure, but we're going to change our tagline. And this is the default tagline, just another WordPress site. And we're going to change that to taking it to the next level one step at a time. Scroll down and click on Save Changes. Now, to log out of the back end of your website, you would go to the top right here, hover over that, and then you would click on Log Out. And now if we were go to our domain name, I'll just delete that. Then you'll see we don't have the admin bar, and then of course to log back in, we just type our domain name /wp-admin, and you'll be able to log in with your new credentials with the new password that you created. Just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and open the front end of my website up in another tab so that we can see changes as they take effect. I'm going to actually hover over this, the site title, and I'm going to right click or control click if you're using a map, and I'm going to say, or using a Mac rather, and I'm going to say open link in new tab, and that opens my front end right here. And then we're going to download and install the Virtue theme, and to do that, let's open another tab, and we're going to go to cadencethemes.com and click on themes, and scroll down. And we do want the free version of the Virtue theme here, so click on Download and save the file. And you're going to save the file to your computer and save it to somewhere where you can find it. And make sure you don't click on Open. If you open the file, your computer might try to unzip this file, and we have to have it remain as a zip file for it to upload correctly to our WordPress site. So be sure to save it, and you don't want to open it. And I've actually already got this downloaded. So once you have it downloaded to your hard drive, you're going to go back to the back end, and you're going to go to Appearance, click on Themes, and we're going to click on Add New at the top. And we're going to find this file on our computer, click on Browse, and I've got this saved in my Downloads folder. And you're going to find the file, click on Open, and then click on Install Now. And then you need to click on Activate to activate the theme. Otherwise, it would still show the 2014 default theme. So we have to activate it. And now if we go to the front end of our website, I'm going to open this other tab up. And if I refresh the page, you'll see that we now have a completely different look and feel. And this is what the beginning of the Virtue theme looks like before we make any additional changes to it. And I do want to point out, if we go back to the back end of our WordPress website and go to Appearance and click on Themes, you do have the option to click on this WordPress.org Themes tab here at the top. And you can download themes from the WordPress directory here, and you could even search for the Virtue theme. I would advise against that. Go ahead and get the theme directly from cadencethemes.com. The reason for that is there might be some minor differences between the two versions, and since I am using the one from cadencethemes.com, it would be a good idea for you to do the same. And I do want to point out that, of course, we are using the free version of the Virtue theme, but you could go to cadencethemes.com and click on Themes, and scroll down and click on Virtue Premium WordPress Theme, and you can view the demo here, and you can take a look at some of the differences and additional features. And you can also go back and scroll down and click on Premium Features and read about some of the additional features that are included with the premium version. And if you decided you wanted to upgrade, you could always purchase the premium version of Virtue right here. Now that we have our theme installed, I want to first start out by creating our pages, and we'll begin adding content to these pages here in a moment, but I want to go ahead and create them so that we can create our navigation menus. So to create a page with WordPress, go to Pages and click on All Pages. And by default, we have the sample page that comes with the standard WordPress installation, and we can delete this sample page by hovering over it and click on Trash. And that actually won't delete it permanently. We could open that page up in the trash folder and restore it, or we could choose to delete it permanently from the trash folder, but we'll just leave it in the trash folder for now. Now we can go to Pages and click on Add New, or click on Add New here at the top. And I'm going to dismiss that note. The first page, we're going to give it a title, and we're going to call it Home. Then I'll click on Publish. Then we can click Add New at the top here. This is going to be the About Us page. I'll click on Publish. Just a redundant process here while we get our pages created. Add New, and this will be our Contact page. Click on Publish. Add New. Call it Video. Publish that. We're almost done here. Add New. This one will be the Image Gallery page. Click on Publish. Add New. And this will be the Portfolio page. Publish that. And our last page, click on Add New, and this is going to be our blog page. We'll call it Blog. Publish that, and of course we're going to be able to add content to these pages, and you can always go back and change the page titles if you need to. Alright, now that we've got our pages created, let's go back to the front end of our website, and I'm going to refresh the page, and you'll see that nothing's changed, and even though we've created our pages, they're still not showing up to where we can access them, and this is because we need to create our navigation menus so that we can actually navigate to the different pages on our site. To do that, let's go back to the back end and go to Appearance and click on Menus. Now, to create a navigation menu, we first need to give it a name, and we're going to call this particular menu the Icon menu. And then click on Create Menu. And then to add pages to our menu, on the left here, we should have all of the pages that we've created that are available to us. It should be showing up, and if not, click on Screen Options here at the top right and make sure Pages is checked. And for this particular menu, the icon menu, I'm going to add the home page, I'm going to add the image gallery, video, and contact us. So I'm going to check all of those, and then I'm going to click on Add to Menu. Alright, and to rearrange menu items, let's say I wanted my home page to be in between video and contact. I could click, hold, and drag on home and drag that up and release that right here, and that would put it in between those two menu items. If I wanted it to be a drop down, and we'll go over this more specifically here in a moment, I would click, hold, and drag and release that offset a little bit like that, and that would make home appear as a drop down underneath video. But I actually want my home page to be the first menu item, and I don't want any drop downs for this particular menu, so I'm going to leave it like that. Now, by default, the menu items will take on the title of the page that they reflect. So if you wanted to change that, you could hover over it, click on this arrow, and we could change home to say welcome, for example, and that would change it, assuming we saved the menu here, that would change it on the front end of our site and it would display as welcome. But we'll leave it to home. And also, if you wanted to remove one of these menu items, you could click on the arrow. If we wanted to remove our video page, for example, you could click on the arrow and click on Remove Here, and that would put it back, and you would have to choose it back from this list again to re-add it. So we'll do that. We'll check Video and click on Add to Menu, and then we'll click, hold, and drag and release that there to put that back where we wanted it. And the next thing we need to do is assign the menu to a particular spot on the Virtue theme, and different themes will have different theme locations available for your menus. In our case, we actually have 5 theme locations here, and just to show you how this works, you could assign this menu to multiple theme locations, and we'll do that just like that, and we'll save the menu by checking all 4 of those, 4 out of the 5 theme locations. Save the menu, and now if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, you'll see that we have that menu showing up here. We have the menu showing up here, the top bar, and we also have it showing up in the footer. But let's go back and let's just change that, and we're just going to leave it to the primary navigation spot. So we're going to uncheck these other theme locations and click on Save Menu. And now if we go back to the front end and refresh, we just have the menu in one location here. And of course, you can click on these menu items to be taken to the pages they represent. So if I click on Image Gallery, it's going to take me to the Image Gallery page. And of course, we only have the title here. We don't have any content yet because we haven't added any content. Now let's go back to our back end, to our menu section. And one of the amazing features of the Virtue theme is that you can actually add tons of icons to your navigation menus. And I just think it's a really cool way to make your site look that much more professional. Now to do that, you use what are called CSS classes, and we need to go to the top and click on Screen Options, and then you need to make sure CSS classes is selected there. Check that, and then we can click Screen Options to minimize that. And now when we click on our arrows for our navigation menu items, we now have this CSS classes box here. Now to get the CSS classes that correspond with each icon that you're going to want to use, we're going to go back to Cadence Themes, and that's just cadencethemes.com. Click on Themes, and then you're going to scroll down and click on Virtue WordPress Theme here. And then you're going to click on View Demo and come up and hover over Features and click on Icons. And these are all the icons that you have at your disposal, and you can just kind of peruse these on your own. But to get the CSS class, for example, the first menu item that we have is our home page. So I'm going to look for the home icon, and this is the one I want to use right here. And all you do is copy the CSS class here. Make sure you don't get any additional characters, and go back to the back end of our site. And I'm going to paste that in right here. And this is going to be the icon for our home page. And now if I save the menu and go back to the front end of our site and refresh the page, we now have this icon showing up when we hover over home. And what shows up whether you hover or not, but when you hover, it actually takes on the primary color of the theme, which in our case is this blue, and we're going to go over that in much more detail when we go over the color options you have. But let's go back and add icons for the other 3 menu items. Go back to the icon page here, and I'm going to look for the image gallery icon I'm going to use, which is going to be a camera. Right here, I'm going to select the text, copy, and click on the arrow next to image gallery and paste that in under CSS classes, and save the menu. And then I'll add the video. Click on the icons tab. For video, I'm going to use this film icon, copy and paste that in there, and click the arrow to minimize that, and click the arrow to open up the Contact Us menu settings. And I'm going to click on the, or hover over and select the text for the envelope. Copy that, paste that in, and then I'm going to save the menu and go back to the front end of our site and refresh the page. And we now have all of our icons showing up. And one thing I do want to point out, if we go back to our menu section, when you use these CSS classes to add icons, let's click on the home menu settings here, you want to make sure that you don't have any spaces. If I add a space there and saved the menu and went back to the front end of my site and refreshed, it's not going to work. It's not going to work if you have any additional characters, including spaces. So you just need to be real careful with that. And we'll just change that back by clicking here and then hitting the delete key on my keyboard and then save that. And if we refresh the page, that should fix it right back. Alright, and now let's go back to the back end, to our menu section. And of course, under Appearance Menus, we're going to create a new menu. So click on Create a New Menu. And we're just going to call it Navigation Menu. And click on Create Menu. And then I'm going to add several pages. I'm going to add my About page, my image gallery, video, portfolio, and blog. And I'm going to select all of those and then click on Add to Menu. And then I'm going to rearrange them in the order that I want them in by click holding and dragging on each one. I'm going to click on About Us, drag that to the top and release. And then I want my video page under About Us, and then image gallery under video. And then we'll do portfolio and then blog. Now let's say we wanted to add a menu item that was a link to another page on the internet and not a page on our site. We can do that using a link here, and again, make sure that you go to Screen Options and Links is selected so that you do have this link option here. And you can click on Links, and let's say we want this link to Google. You would put in the URL for Google, which is going to be http://www.google.com. And then we want the link text, which is what's going to display on our front end, to say Google. So we'll type that in and then click on Add to Menu. And then let's say I want Video and Image Gallery to appear as a drop-down menu under Google. So I can click, hold, and drag Google up to the top and release it under About Us. And then I can click, hold, and drag video over like that. And then Image Gallery, I'll do the same. Click, hold, and drag and release it there. And then this way, now when I hover over Google on the front end, Video and Image Gallery will appear. And you can actually do a drop down within a drop down by click holding and dragging Image Gallery and doing that. And then Video would appear as a drop down under Google, and then Image Gallery would appear when you hovered over Video. But we'll leave it like that. And we'll click on Save Menu. And actually let's scroll down, and we need to assign this menu to a theme location, and we're going to assign it to our secondary navigation theme location, and we'll click on Save Menu again. And now if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, you'll see that we have our navigation menu, and when we hover over Google, the Video and Image Gallery tabs appear, and when I click on Google, it takes us to Google's website. So let's go back, and we'll go back here to the front end of our site, and we'll go back to our menu section. And instead of linking to Google, let's say I want to have a menu item that acts only to initiate a drop-down, and the menu item itself doesn't actually go anywhere when you click on it, but just serves to display the children menu items below it. I can change this, click on the arrow, and I'm just going to say media. I want this tab to say media, and I don't want it to link anywhere, so instead of putting in a URL, I can just delete that and put in the pound symbol, and then I can click on Save Menu. And now if I go back to the front end and refresh my page, when I hover over Media, I get these two options for video and image gallery, but when I click on Media, it doesn't take me anywhere. Now let's go back to the back end to our menu settings real quick, and I do want to point out if you're having trouble with the drag and drop feature to get your menu items exactly where you want them, you can click on these tabs here, the little arrow next to the menu item you want to edit, and scroll down and use these commands by clicking on them. So if I wanted media, for example, to be a drop down under About Us, I could click on under About Us and that would move it, but we will keep it the way we had it there. Just want to point that out for you. Now let's say we want to add a description to each of these menu items that will appear on the menu on our front end. This is another really cool feature that the Virtue theme allows. What you can do is click on the arrow to initiate the menu settings that you want to edit, and then we need to go to the top, click on Screen Options, and we do want to make sure that description is checked. So check that. Click Screen Options to minimize that. And now we have this new description box appearing. And for the About Us menu tab, I'm going to type Learn About Who We Are. Then I'll click the arrow to minimize that. And then I'll open up the media. And for the description, I'll say Look at Photos and Video. Click the arrow to minimize that. And then we won't worry about the children menu items. We're going to edit portfolio, click the arrow there, and I'll say check out our projects. Click the arrow to minimize those options, and click the arrow to open up the blog menu item settings, and we'll add check out the latest from our blog. And then we will save the menu. Click on Save Menu there, and we'll go back to the front end and refresh the page. And now we have these cool descriptions that show up underneath, and I just think that's a really neat way to enhance your site a little bit if you choose to do that. And of course our media parent item still acts to initiate the drop down for the video and image gallery pages. And the last menu we'll create is going to be our mobile menu, so let's go back to our back end, and we're going to click on Create a New Menu. And we'll call it Mobile Menu, and click on Create Menu. And we're just going to add all of the pages that we've created by clicking Select All and click on Add to Menu. And then we'll scroll down and assign this to our mobile navigation theme location. Click on Save Menu. And it's a good idea to create a mobile menu because with mobile devices, sometimes the navigation functionality that works on a normal computer doesn't work quite the same way. And I do want to point out, just so you know, to edit any menu that you've created, you would go, of course, to Appearance, click on Menus, and then you would select the menu that you want, and we've got 3 currently, and you would select it and then click on the Select button there. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is tell WordPress which page we want to be our front page and which page we want to be our blog page if you do choose to have a blog. To do that, let's go to Settings here at the bottom and click on Reading. And where it says front page displays, this is referring to the page of your website that shows up when people type in your actual domain name. And you could choose to set it to be your latest posts, which it's set on by default, and this would mean your front page would be your blog page. But you can also choose to show a static page, and in our case we want to have specific content on the page that we created called Home show up on our front page, and the Virtue theme also allows us to show our most recent blog posts on our front page anyway, so this works out nicely. So we're going to select a static page, and for my front page I'm going to choose the page we created called Home. And if you want to have a blog, and in our case we do, for the post page we're going to select the page we created called Blog to designate that page to be our blog. We're going to go over blog settings in much more detail later in the video, but for now let's scroll down and click on Save Changes. And now if we go back to the front end of our website, We can access the front page by clicking on, since we haven't added our logo yet, our site title here, and this would take us to our front page. And now, since we've changed that, our front page is now displaying our home page. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add content to the About page. So let's go back to our back end and go to Pages and click on All Pages. And then we're going to click on About Us to open up the About Us page in the page editor. Now with WordPress, you have the visual editor and the text editor. The visual editor is what we're going to be using, and it functions much like a word processor would. If we select this icon here to toggle the toolbar, we have all these additional formatting options. So just to show you how this works, you can add text, and then you can select the text and you can make it bold or italic, or I can take those off. You can turn a paragraph into a heading, for example, like that. Turn it back to a paragraph. You can center text, and also, just to show you, if I press enter here, I can make a bullet list. Type 1, enter, 2, enter, and 3. If I select this and then move that to aligned left, and then with those selected chose the bullet list, I could do that, or make them a numbered bullet list, for example. And also, let's select that again and make it a list. I want to show you that the text editor, actually this is HTML code that's being written for you when you make changes using the visual editor. So that's a really cool feature that WordPress offers for you. Now the text editor is what you would use to add actual HTML code to your site. So if you needed to put in HTML code for an affiliate product, or if you had HTML code for advertising, you would use the text editor to add that to your pages. But let's switch back to the visual editor, and I'm just going to select all of this and delete it by pressing the delete key. And let's start out by adding a small heading, and we're just going to say welcome to this website. Just going to type that in there, and then I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change it from a paragraph to a heading 2, and this is going to appear below the page title. And then let's add a couple of paragraphs underneath our heading here. So I'm going to press enter on the keyboard, and then I'm going to grab some text that I've got written out. And I'm going to copy these one paragraph at a time here and paste that in. By default, it will paste it in as a paragraph. And we'll press enter again for the second paragraph. Copy and paste that in. Now let's say I wanted to add some text and make it a clickable link so that it would take you to another page, either anywhere on the internet or another page on your website. You could do that. We'll just add some text. This is a link to Google. And what you can do is select the text that you want to make a link, and you'll click on the link icon here to insert the link, and then you'll just put in the URL. So we can get the URL for Google by going to google.com and just copy the URL here, or you could just add it manually, and then we'll go back and paste that in. You can also, if you wanted to link to another page on your website, you could use this option to link to existing content and find the page that you wanted to link to and click on it, and that would automatically put in the link for you. But we'll just use the link for Google, and we'll click on add link, and then we're going to click on update to update the page so that these changes take effect. And then we're going to go back to the front end of our website, and I'm going to click on our About page. And you see that underneath our About Us page title, we have our second heading, and then we have our 2 paragraphs, and then when I hover over Google and click on that, it takes me to the Google website. Now let's go back to the back end, to our page editor here, and if you wanted to remove the link that you created, you can just select the text that you made into a link, and then you would just click on the remove link icon here. But we'll leave it as it is. Now let's say we want to have an image to the left of our text, and I want the text to wrap around the image. We can do that pretty easily, but first I want to show you where I usually go to get amazingly high quality free stock photos. Pixabay.com is a wonderful resource, and you can use it, and you don't even have to leave an attribution for the photos that you use. You can use the images freely on your website. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to close out of some of these tabs here we don't need anymore. And I'm going to open a new tab and go ahead and go to Pixabay.com. And I'm going to go ahead and search for Creek. And I'm going to, let's say I want to use this image, which I do. I'm going to click on that. And then you have several different download options, several different size options. I almost always go with this medium option, which is usually around 1280 pixels in width. And the reason I do that is because the 1280 pixel wide image is almost always going to be wide enough and large enough for what you need when you're adding an image onto a website. And you can always scale an image down without losing quality, but you can't take a smaller image and try to make it larger. So I always like to err on the side of caution and go with a little bit larger image. Now there is an exception when we are going to go with an even larger image than that, and that's when we download our background image for our entire site later in the video, but we'll discuss that later. Now, I do recommend getting a free account with Pixabay. Otherwise, each time you download an image, you have to type in a CAPTCHA. But I've already got all of my images downloaded. But to download this image, you would select the size you want, click on Download, and you would save the file somewhere on your computer where you can find it. And like I said, I've already got all of my images downloaded to my hard drive, and I've got them organized into folders and renamed, but you would just do that. Now, to add the image that we want to our About page, let's go back to the back end, to the About Us page editor. And I do want to point out that I find that it's usually easier to add your text first and then go back and select where you want to put your image. And this just makes it easier to get your image aligned and in the exact place that you want it. So we've already got our paragraphs in place, and we want our image again to the left of our paragraphs. So I'm going to click up here to the top left, and then I'm going to click on the Add Media button here. And I'm going to click on the Upload Files tab, and since we need to upload the file from our personal computer onto our hosting account, so click on Select Files, and I'm going to find the files on the image on my computer, and it's going to be right here. So find the image, select it, and click on Open. That's going to upload it to your media library. And then here on the right, you have a couple of options here. The caption, if you wanted to use the caption, it would display this below the image on the front end of your website. So if you put in text here, it would display on the front end. The alt text and the description are fields that you can use if you wanted to optimize your images for search engine optimization. This is a good idea since search engines can't read images. If you add a description about what the image is, or about what the image represents, that's a helpful thing to do, but we won't worry about that for the sake of time. Now if we scroll down or go down to the attachment display settings, we do want this image aligned left so that the text will wrap nicely around the image. The link, if you kept it linked to a media file, that would mean that you could click on the image and it would open up in a sort of lightbox effect. We're going to go over that in more detail when we create our image gallery later in the video. You could also click here and choose to link this image to a custom URL, and you could paste in a URL, and that could be anywhere on the internet or anywhere on your website. And we're going to leave that to none, so this image is not a link to anywhere. And for the size, we are going to leave that to the medium size. If we wanted the full size, that would be much too large for a website. So this medium 300 by 200 pixel image is going to be a great size. And then click on Insert into Page. And then we're going to click on Update. And now we can view this page by clicking on View Page here, and that's going to take us to the front end. And you can see that we have our image to the left here, and the text wraps nicely around it. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is set up our contact form on our contact page. And to do that, let's go to the back end by clicking our site title here. And before we can add a contact form onto our contact page, we need to download a plugin. And traditionally, you would go to Plugins and click on Add New, and you would be able to search the WordPress directory for the plugin that you want. The plugin that we want is actually at the top here. It says this theme comes packaged with the following premium plugin, the Virtual Pinnacle Toolkit. Now we can go ahead and click on that, but just to show you, you would go to Plugins and click on Add New, and you could search for this plugin as well. And plugins are a great way to add additional functionality to your site. That's one of the awesome things about WordPress, is that there's literally a plugin for just about everything out there. And we're just going to click on the Virtue Pinnacle Toolkit here, and this is going to download the plugin for us. And we're going to click on Install Now. And not only will this plugin allow us to add a contact form to our contact page, it will also help us set up our portfolios that we're going to get into later on. Once you've installed the plugin, click on Activate Plugin. And then before we set up our contact form on the contact page, we need to go to Appearance and click on Theme Options. And we need to tell WordPress and the Virtue theme where we want our contact form submissions sent to, which email address we want them sent to. So go to Appearance, Theme Options, and then you're going to click on Miscellaneous Settings here, and that's going to pull up these options. And then scroll down, and where it says Contact Form Email, you need to add the email address that you, again, want those contact form submissions sent to. And then you're going to click on Save Changes. And then now we're going to go to Pages and click on All Pages. And we're going to open up our contact form page, or Contact Us page in the page editor. And then we're going to come over, and where it says under Template, it's currently set to the default template. We're going to click there and change this to be the contact template. So make that change there. And then you have to update the page for this to take effect. And when you update the page, when we scroll down, we now have these contact page options. And remember, you can't just select the contact template and have these options. You have to update the page first. So once you do that, and then also if your contact form options still aren't showing up, click on Screen Options and make sure contact page options are checked there. Then we're going to scroll down and fill out some of these contact form options. The title, I'm going to paste in a title that I have here. I'm just going to say we would love to hear from you. Paste that in. And then I'm going to keep Use Simple Math Question to Yes, and this is basically a CAPTCHA that's going to help prevent spam comments and spam contact form submissions for you. And to turn the map feature on, we're going to select Yes, and then I'm going to paste in an address. Paste that in there. And then we can come back up and update the page. And we can click on View Page to view this page on the front end of our site. And you see that we now have this map, and when we scroll down, we have our contact form here with the title that we put in. And people could fill out this form with their name, email, and message, and then correctly answer this question, and it would send the contact form to the email address that you just specified. And now, if we wanted to add content to this section, we can go back to the back end and open this contact page up in the page editor. We can also click on Edit Page here. It's another shortcut. So we'll click on Edit Page. And any content you put in the visual editor here will show up on the left beneath the map. So I'm going to copy and paste a couple of sentences that I have, paste that in there, and I'm going to select it and make it bold, clicking on that, and then I'm going to update the page and click on View Page. Scroll down, and we now have the text under there, and then I'm going to go back and bump this down a little bit so it's in line with the contact form title. I'm going to click on Edit Page there at the top and click right there at the end of my text, or right at the beginning of my text, and press Enter and click on Update to save these changes. And now when I view the page, we have it aligned there so it looks good. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add our video to our video page. So let's go back to the back end. And we'll open up our video page in the page editor, go to Pages, click on All Pages, and click on Video. And then in another tab, I'm going to go to YouTube and find the video that I want to add to my website. And I'm going to search for GoPro wingsuit flying. And right here, this is the video that I want, so I'm going to click on that. And I'll click to pause. And all you have to do with the Virtue theme is copy the URL for the video, and then we'll go back to the back end and make sure you have the toolbar toggled there, and click on the Insert YouTube button here, and then you're going to paste in the URL that you just copied from YouTube and click on Insert and click on Update. And now if we view the front end of our site and hover over Media and click on our Video tab, you'll see that we have our video enabled, and of course we can click to play it straight from our screen here. And also doing it this way with the Virtue theme using the YouTube icon in the page editor, when you view your site on a mobile device, the video will resize nicely to fit perfectly on the screen, so that's a really neat feature to have. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add an image gallery to our website. So to do that, let's go back to the back end. And we're going to go to Pages, click on All Pages. And we're going to add our image gallery, of course, to the image gallery page that we created. So we're going to open up that page in the page editor. And then to add a gallery, you're going to click your cursor where you want to put the gallery. And since we don't have any other content on our page, we'll just click within the text area here. And then we're going to click on Add Media. And click on Create Gallery. And then we're going to click on Upload Files. Click on Select Files, and you're going to find the images that you want on your computer. And I'm going to click this top one, hold Shift on my keyboard, and then click on the bottom one to select all of those. And I'm going to click on Open. And it's going to upload those one at a time. And then I need to click on Create New Gallery with, of course, all of these checked. The ones we just uploaded should be checked by default. And then click on Create New Gallery. And you do have the option to add an image caption. And I'm going to add one for this first image just to show you what this would look like. And link to, we need to select media file. You have to select media file if you want your image gallery to function as a lightbox. So you need to change link to media file. And don't check that. That was an accident there. We'll leave that so that they stay in this order. And by the way, you can rearrange these by click holding and dragging just like that. But we'll just leave it that way. Then we're going to click on Insert Gallery. And then we're going to click on Update to update this page and save the gallery. Now, before we view our image gallery on the front end of our site, I do want to point out one setting that needs to remain as I have it. Go to Appearance and click on Theme Options. And then scroll down to Miscellaneous Settings. Click on that, and that'll pull up these settings. And then you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And under WordPress galleries, by default, you have the Virtue galleries enabled. And as it says here, you would want to disable this if you had another plugin installed that was functioning for your galleries. But since we are going to use the Virtue galleries that comes installed with the Virtue theme to display our lightbox effect, we are going to leave this on, and it should be on, of course, by default. But if it wasn't, you would turn that on and save the change. And now if we view the front end of our site, and go to Media and click on Image Gallery to open up our Image Gallery page. We have our image gallery here, and we can click on any image and it opens it up in this nice lightbox effect. And this is the caption that we added to that first image. And of course we can scroll through just like that, and we can click anywhere here to get out of the lightbox. And also notice that by default it's taking on the standard default page template with the sidebar here. We can go back to the page editor for the image gallery page by clicking on Edit Page. And let's say we want a full width template. We can go down here to Template and select the full width option. And of course make sure Screen Options Page Attributes is selected there so that this box appears. And also if you wanted to edit your image gallery, for example remove this caption, you can click here and click on the pencil icon, and that would let you edit it. You could also delete it that way. But we're going to update this with the full width template so that we save that. And now when we view the page, you'll see that we have our image gallery showing up as a full width template now. Alright, now we get into what I would consider to be the fun part about designing a website, where we get to get a little creative and come up with a color scheme. And the Virtue theme makes it very easy to really customize your colors. So to do that, let's go back to the back end. And you're going to go to Appearance and click on Theme Options. And click on Basic Styling here on the left. And that's going to pull up these basic styling options. And by default, you have the default theme skin selected, which the default is going to be the blue color scheme that we have. And you can select here and choose the red or the orange theme skins that come pre-installed with the Virtue theme. Or you can customize your color scheme to be any color that you want by choosing a primary color here by clicking on Select Color. And then we can scroll down and just choose any of these colors. We'll just choose the green. And that's going to pull up all of these options. And then you can click, hold, and drag. And we're going to select a teal color just to show you what this would look like. And once you select that color, click on Save Changes. And this is going to override the setting that you have above. And if we view the front end of our site, I'm going to open this in a new tab. You see that we now have this teal color scheme. And when we hover over our menu items, they're teal as well as down here. And let's go back to our theme options. And if you wanted to clear this primary color and reset it, you would click on Select Color and click on Clear. And then without anything selected there, it will take on whatever theme skin you have selected above. And I actually like the default blue color scheme, and that's the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to click on Save Changes. And just to show you, if we go back to the front end and refresh, we will of course revert back to the blue color scheme that we had. Alright, now that we've settled on our blue color scheme, we need to find other colors that are going to go really well with this blue. And to do that, we first need to know exactly what shade of blue this is. And there's a really great tool that we can get. And I'm using the Firefox browser, but this works for the Chrome browser as well. I'm going to close out of some of these tabs I don't need. And I'm going to open a new tab and go to google.com and search for ColorZilla. And it should be the first option that pops up. Go ahead and click on that. And we're going to click on ColorZilla for Firefox and Chrome. And if you have Firefox, you would stay on this tab. If you have Chrome, you can click on this tab and you would just click on Install ColorZilla and follow the instructions. And you might have to restart your browser. But once you have this installed, let's go back to the front end. What you can do is activate the ColorZilla tool by clicking on Tools, ColorZilla, and Eyedropper, or you might have an icon with the eyedropper here. We can click on that, and anywhere I move my cursor, it's going to tell me the exact color that it's over. So right now I've got it over this blue. If I went down here, I've got it over this light gray, but I'm going to put it over this blue. And if you see right in the middle towards the top of my screen, you have the pound 2D5C88. That is a 6-digit hex code. That's what that's called. And that corresponds with this exact shade of blue. So I'm going to click right there, and that's going to copy that hex code so that I can just paste that in. For example, I can just paste right here, and that's going to paste in the hex code. And what we're going to do with this hex code is open up another tab, and this is another wonderful free resource. Go to color.adobe.com, and then we can scroll down to the bottom, and we're going to paste that hex code in by selecting this middle option with next to hex code, deleting that and pasting that in, and press enter. And I already had that hex code in, and that's going to be our primary color. And then all of these shades of blue go well with this blue, but also we have these different color rules, and we can select them to see all these different colors that go well with this blue. And I really like the triad. When we click on the triad color rule, I really like this red. So this is the red that I'm going to use for my logo. And to design my logo, I'm going to use another wonderful free tool called PicMonkey. So I'm going to go and leave the color wheel tab open because I want to be able to access the red and get the hex code for it here in a moment. So in another tab, I'm going to go to picmonkey.com, and I'm going to hover over Design and then come down and select a custom canvas. And this is going to allow me to choose the size. I'm going to make this 500 by 500 pixels, and this is going to be plenty large enough. Not 5,000, 500, plenty large enough for the logo, and then click Make It. And a general rule of thumb is that you want it at least as large as your logo is going to be, because we're going to crop it out. So you want to go err on the side of too big rather than too small for your canvas. And also I want to point out that we are viewing our canvas at 100% here, which is what you want, because our logo will show up at its exact actual size while we create it. Now to add text, we're going to come over and click on the text icon there to activate the text tool. And then click on Add Text. And that's going to pull up the text box, and we can click, hold, and drag. And I'm just going to move this text box and release it there at the top left corner. And then actually before we add text, I'm going to click right here and drag this to make it a little bit bigger, just to make sure that it's plenty big enough for the text that I want. And then I'm going to click within it and type my logo title, which is going to be Outdoor Adventure. And then I'm going to select the font, click on the box again, and then double click and click, hold, and drag to select the text. And I'm going to choose my font here, and you have lots of different font options. You can scroll down and see all of these different fonts and just experiment with them. I'm going to go with this franchise font, so I'm just going to click on it. And then I'm going to change the size of my logo and come over here, and I'm going to change this and select the 31 font size and change it to 60 and press enter on my keyboard. And then it looks like I need to drag my text box down, so I can click outside here and then click on the text and hold it and drag it down just a little bit. Move my logo right towards the edge. And now to change the color, I can double click and then click, hold, and drag to select all of the text. And I'm going to grab the hex code for this red and copy that. Select that and copy it. Make sure you get all 6 characters. Go back to PicMonkey, and where it says color, I'm going to click there, press the delete key, and then paste in that additional hex code and press enter. And that's going to change it to that red shade there. And now if I click out here, it'll take me out of that. Now we need to do 2 things. We first need to make the background transparent. And the reason we do this is because we want our logo to take on whatever background is on our header. And if our header were to change colors, if we wanted to make the header a different color, if we didn't have a transparent background for our logo, we would have to redesign our logo. And that's not a good practice. So to make our background transparent, we're going to click on this icon here, the Basic Edits icon, and then come down to Canvas Color, click on that, and click the box next to Transparent Canvas and click on Apply. And the last thing we're going to do, before we crop the logo out of our canvas, I want to click on our text box again and just drag that up a little bit more, get it as close to possible to the edges without cutting any of the text off. That looks pretty good. Then I can click here to get out of that text box. And then with the Basic Edits icon selected, we can click on the crop tool. That's going to pull up the crop box. I can click, hold, and drag this box. I'm going to drag it to the top left and release, and then I'm going to click here at the corner and hold and drag that up right to where I want it. That looks pretty good. I'm going to make it a little bit up, move it up a little bit. That looks good right there. And then I'm going to click on Apply. And that's going to crop our logo out. And to save this logo, we're going to save it to our computer. Click on Save, and we'll give it a title. And you want to make sure that you're saving this as a PNG file and not a JPG. A PNG, and basically a PNG file allows you to have a transparency in your image, which is exactly what we want. And click on Save to my computer. Click Save. And then to add our logo to our website, we're going to go back to the back end of our site and Appearance, Theme Options, and we're going to click on Main Settings here at the top. Scroll down. And for the logo layout, you do have the option to center the logo, but we're going to leave our logo to the left. And then right here in the next box where it says Logo, we're going to click on Upload. And we're going to click on Upload Files. Click on Select Files, and we're going to find the logo that we just saved to our hard drive. And we'll open that up. And then once it's uploaded, click on Select. And we're going to click on Save Changes. And now if we go back to the front end of our website and refresh the page, you'll see that our site title is now replaced with the logo. And by the way, of course, the logo, we can click on it and be taken to our home page. And let's go back to our theme options and appearance, theme options, and main settings again. We're going to scroll down and we're going to add a site tagline below the logo. And we're just going to say, taking it to the next level one step at a time. And I'm going to come down to site tagline font, and I'm going to leave it at this Lato font, but I'm going to make the size 19 pixels. That should make it big enough to stretch across the entire width of the logo, underneath the logo. And then I'm going to change the font color and make it the same color as our logo by clicking on Select Color here. And then I'm going to go back to the color wheel and copy the hex code for our red, and then go back to the back end and select the current hex code. Make sure you get all of it and delete, and we've got 2 more characters we need to delete there. Delete all of the characters and then paste the red hex code in, making sure you get all 6 digits, and then scroll down, and we're going to click on Save Changes, and we'll view the front end and refresh the page. Alright, and that looks pretty good, and you might need to do some trial and error if you're trying to get your tagline to stretch the entire width by experimenting with different font sizes for your tagline. But let's go back, and I want to do one more thing. I want to adjust the spacing of my logo within the header. And to do that, let's go back to our theme options, appearance, theme options, and then main settings. And we're going to scroll down. And here at the bottom we have some logo spacing options. And for the logo spacing, I'm going to change the top spacing to 20, and just click in this white for that change to take effect, and then the bottom spacing also to 20. And I'm going to scroll down and make the menu top bottom spacing 10. Click there, and then this one's already set to 10. And now I'm going to click on Save Changes. And this is just going to make a minor difference, and you can experiment with those options. Let's go back and view the front end and refresh the page. And it just kind of bumps it up there and centers things a little bit. The next thing I want to do is go over other customization settings, and primarily choosing to have a background color or background image for your site. To access those settings, let's go to the back end, and we're going to go to Appearance, Theme Options, and we're going to click on Advanced Styling. And here you can choose a background color or a background image for several different sections on your website. This section, the main content background, is the area on your website behind the content of your pages, and this is going to be white by default. Scroll down, you have the top bar background, and the top bar is going to take on the primary color of your website. So in our case, this is going to be that default blue. Scroll down. Your header background is going to take on a white background color by default, and this of course is the area behind our logo and also behind our icon navigation menu. The secondary menu, the mobile menu, and the footer background are all going to take on a light gray color by default. And then you have a body background section, and that includes the area behind the contents of your website. Now, to enable a body background section, you have to have the boxed layout selected, and we're going to do that by going up, and we're going to go back to our main settings, click on that, and right here, Site Layout Style. As you can see, by default, we've got the wide layout selected, and this light gray area in both of these graphics refers to the main content section. So we're going to select the box layout, and you can see this darker gray is going to refer to the body background section. So now that we've got that selected, let's save the change. And let's view the front end of our website and refresh the page. And now you can see that the site is now boxed out of the main background section. So when we go to add our body background color or a body background image, this white area is the area that's going to be replaced with that background color or background image. And to do that, let's go back to our back end and go to Appearance, Theme Options, and back to Advanced Styling. And our body background settings are controlled at the bottom here, so let's scroll down right here. And to select a body background color, click on Select Color, and then I'm going to go back to my color wheel, and I'm going to change the color rule to complementary and scroll down. And I really like this dark brown color here. I think it goes very nicely with this blue. So I'm going to copy the hex code and go back to the back end and paste this in here, just like that. And then I'm going to click on Save Changes. and go back and view the front end of my site and refresh the page. And of course we now have our new background color. And let's look at the About page that has a little bit more content on it. You can see how it looks. Alrighty. Now let's say you wanted to have a background image instead of a background color. You have two different options. You can choose to have either one large image that will appear once on your screen as your background, or you can have what's called a repeatable pattern, and that is a small pattern or texture that's designed to repeat seamlessly across your screen horizontally and vertically to look like one big background image. And for that second option, a repeatable pattern, I'm going to show you a resource. I'm going to close this tab and open a new tab. bgrepeat.com is a great source for free repeatable patterns. So go there, and I'm going to click on Most Downloaded. And I'm going to click on this pattern right here on the far left. And then I'm going to click on Download Background. And I'm just going to save this to my hard drive. And just save it somewhere where you know you can find it. And I'm going to open this image up just to show you how small it truly is. This is the image viewed at 100%, and you can see here it's being displayed horizontally and vertically and repeating both ways. So it looks like one big seamless image, so it's a really cool way to do a background image. To add this to our site, we'll go back to the back end, and you'll go to Appearance, Theme Options, and Advanced Styling, and scroll down to the bottom to the Body Background Settings. And where it says Upload Background Image or Texture, click on Upload. And we're going to click on Upload Files, and click on Select Files. And then we're going to find this on our hard drive. I've got it right here. Click on Open. And then we're going to click on Select. And then scroll down, and for image repeat options, since this is a repeatable pattern, we want it to repeat across the y-axis and the x-axis, so we're going to select the repeat option. And for the image placement, I like to do, for the x image placement, I'd like to do left, and for the y image placement, I like to do top. And then for fixed or scroll, we're going to do scroll, but you can play with the fixed option as well. And click on Save Changes. And now if we go back to the front end of our website and refresh the page, you see that we have this nice repeatable pattern as our background. Now I like how this looks, but we can also use an actual photograph for our background. So I'm going to go back to pixabay.com, and I'm going to search for mountains. And real quick, I do want to point out this top row of images, these are sponsored images, so these are not going to be free. Just wanted to make you aware of that. And I'm going to look through these images, and I found this image right here, and I think this would be absolutely beautiful as a background image for our site. So this is the one I'm going to use, so I'm going to click on that to open it up. And sometimes finding a good background image can take some trial and error, so you may have to experiment with different images. That's totally normal, and I actually, of course, had to do that as well in preparation for this video. And like I said earlier, I almost always download medium-sized images for a website, but for a background image, this is the exception, and this is really the only exception. You really want to download the large file because the medium file, the 1280 pixel wide images, aren't going to be as wide as most people's screens, and the extra large images should be wide enough to cover the width of most people's screens, and that's what you want for a background image for your site. So I'm going to download the extra large, and if you do download the extra large high resolution images, you will need a free account. So just sign up for a free account with Pixabay so that you can download that. And I've actually already got that downloaded to my hard drive, but you would just click on download after checking the extra large and saving that to your hard drive. Alright, after you've got your background image downloaded, let's go back to the back end of our site, and we're going to go to Appearance, Theme Options, and Advanced Styling again. Scroll down to the bottom to the Body Background Settings, and we've already uploaded the textured background. We're going to remove that. Click on Remove, and then we're going to click on Upload, and click on Upload Files, and then click on Select Files, and you're going to find the background image that you downloaded. Open that up, and once it's uploaded, click on Select, and then we're going to change Repeat to No Repeat. This is not a repeatable background, so we're going to select no repeat. And for the image placement options, I'm going to select center this time, since we're using one photograph. And for the Y image placement, I'm going to leave that to the top. And for fixed or scroll, I'm going to change this for fixed, and I advise using a fixed setting for your background image if you're using one photograph image. And we're going to leave the body background color set to this dark brown, and I will show you why we do that here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and click on Save Changes. And then let's go to the front end of our website and refresh the page. Alright, and notice that we have our new background image, and when I scroll down, this is what the fixed setting does. The background image remains in place, and the content scrolls around it. Now, I told you I was going to show you why you want to keep a brown background, or a background color that will look good with your site. The reason you do that is because if somebody is using an ultra wide screen, I'm going to zoom out and show you what it would look like on their screen. It would look something like that, and again, this is uncommon for people to have a screen that wide, but some people do have screens that are that big, and you would just want to keep a background color that's going to go well with your background image and the color scheme of your entire site. But I'm just going to restore the standard zoom setting there. Now let's go back to the back end, and we're just going to go over some other settings. And we're currently under the advanced styling options, and I'm just going to leave all of these settings set to their default colors, the background colors. Usually going with light gray or white background colors for areas of your website that have text on top of them. That's generally a good idea because it makes sure that the text is easy to read. And let's just go over some other theme settings that we have here. Let's click on Main Settings. And we're not going to cover everything, but you should get a pretty good feel for the options you have to work with using Virtue. Now under main settings, we've already gone over most of these. We selected a boxed layout, and we chose to keep our logo to the left. You could choose to center it if you wanted to do that. And we gave a site tagline, and then we also adjusted our logo spacing and our menu spacing. Now we're going to go over widgets and widget areas here in just a moment, but this is where we would control the footer widget layout. And again, we'll go over this again here in just a moment. Now the top bar settings. This is referring to the bar that shows up on the front end of your website at the top, and of course it does take on the primary color of your website by default. You could choose to disable that if you did not want a top bar at all by clicking on the off button here and then saving the change, but we'll of course leave that on. And then you can also elect to use a top bar icon menu, and I'll just show you real quickly how this works. We can turn that on by clicking on the on button, and then next to top bar icon menu, click on this box. And we're going to give this a title that's going to be Home. And we're not going to worry about a description. We are going to put a link in. And I'm going to go to the front end of my website and click on the logo to be taken to the home page. And then I'm just going to copy the URL for the home page and paste that in the icon links section. And then I'm going to click on Select an Icon to choose from one of the many icons that we have. And I'm just going to select the Home icon right here, and then I'm going to scroll down, and you could add as many as you want here. You could add another icon if you wanted to do that. This is what you would click, but we're just going to save the change, and we'll go back and look at the front end real quick and refresh the page. And this is all it is. This is just the icon menu at the home. When you hover over it, it gives the title, whatever you called it, and we called it Home. And if I clicked on that, it would take me to the home page. Let's go back. The slider and mobile slider settings we're going to go over when we go over our home layout settings. All three of those we're going to go over here in just a little bit. And the shop settings, these don't apply to us. This would be if you had an e-commerce plugin, the WooCommerce plugin, which is compatible with the Virtue theme. And since we're not going over that in this video tutorial, we don't have to worry about shop settings. Basic styling, this is of course where we set up our primary website color earlier, and we're not going to go over that anymore. Advanced styling, we just went over that when we added our body background color. The typography settings, this is where you would control the font for your website, and I'm going to leave most of these fonts to their default settings, but Virtue does include a lot of different Google fonts that you can use by clicking on the font you would want to change. The heading 1 headings, this refers to your page titles, so if you wanted to change the font for your page titles, you could do that by clicking here. and you can, let's just experiment with the Cranky font. You can select it and it will give you a preview of what that font would look like, and then of course you can change the different size, the size options and all these other settings here. We're going to leave these as to the default, so I'm going to revert back to the Lato font that we had, and then I'm going to scroll down. And the body font, this is the font for your paragraphs, and what I would suggest is just make sure that the body font is very legible, very easy to read. And I am going to change this from Verdana to one of the fonts towards the top, the very top one, Arial Helvetica Sans Serif. And I'm going to bump up the font size just a little bit, just to make it a little bit bigger and easier to read, to 16. And if you wanted to change the font color, you could do that, of course, by clicking Select Color. And you could either paste in a hex code, or you can click on any of these and click, hold, and drag, and you can adjust the shade, of course. If you wanted to revert back to the default color, for some reason this clear setting hasn't worked, so what you would do is just select the color, delete the hex code, and then save the change. So that's what we're going to do, is just make sure there's nothing there, and then we'll click on Save Changes. And let's view the front end of our site, and we're going to go to the About page. And you may be able to tell that there's a very subtle difference between this font and the font that we had. Then let's go back to the back end, and of course under Appearance Theme Options we're going to click on the Menu Settings, and I am going to choose the bold version of the font that we have by default for the primary and secondary menu. So to do that, I'm going to change where it says Normal 400. I'm going to click there and make this the bold 700, and then I'm going to scroll down and do the same for the secondary menu font and make that bold 700, and then I'm going to click on Save Changes. Then if I go back to the front end of my site and keep an eye on the menus and the menu fonts rather, refresh the page, and you'll see that they got a little bit bolder, so I just think that looks a little neater than it did. Alright, and then let's go back to the back end, and we'll go over, scroll down to the miscellaneous settings, click on that. Now if you scroll down, you'll recall that this is where we put in the email address where you want your contact form submissions to be sent to. Also, if you want to remove the theme credit in the footer, you can delete the theme credit that's contained within these brackets, and we'll just leave these other options to leave a copyright with our site name on the footer, and we'll click on Save Changes. And if we go back to the front end and scroll down, this is the credit to the theme. If we refresh the page, you'll notice that's no longer there, and we do have the copyright because we left that in place. And let's go back to our theme options in the back end, and these advanced settings, if you had some custom CSS that you wanted to add, this is where you would add that. We're not going to get into that. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to set up our home page, and to access our home page settings, we're going to of course be in the Appearance Theme Options section, and we're going to click on Home Layout, and here you have the option to display a sidebar on your home page. We're going to leave that disabled. You could enable it by checking this graphic here, and then scroll down and you have the Home Page Layout Manager, and by default you have a page title and the page content enabled. And if you recall earlier in the video, we went to Settings and Reading, and I'm just going to do this real quick just to give you a refresher. And we told WordPress that we wanted our front page to display a static page, and then we selected that front page to be the page that we created called Home, and then of course we chose to have a blog, and we chose the page that we created called Blog to be our posts page, our blog page. So that's the home page is what we designated to be our front page. So when we go back to Appearance Theme Options and scroll down to the Home Page Layout Manager, the page title and the page content, this is referring to the title of our home page and the page content that's going to be on our home page. So to add content to our home page, since we've designated that page to be our front page, we're going to go to Pages, click on All Pages, and we're going to open up our home page, and I'm just going to copy and paste in a paragraph. Paste that in, and of course you can use the visual editor just like we've been using it. You could add pictures if you wanted to. And then we're going to click on Update. And then we're going to go and view the front end of our site. I'm going to click on this tab, and then I'm going to click on the logo to be taken to my front page. And as you can see, we now have, of course, the title of our page and then the page content for our home page. Now let's go back to the back end, and we're going to go back to Appearance and click on Theme Options. And let's say we don't want to have the page title. I can disable that by holding and dragging on it, and then moving it over and releasing it in this disabled column. And now if I save the change, go back to the front end of my website and refresh the page, you'll see that we no longer have the page title. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is set up our home page icon menu. So to do that, let's go back to the back end, and of course under Appearance, Theme Options, and under the Home Layout section, scroll down, and we need to enable the icon menu by holding and dragging it from the disabled column, and we'll move it over to the enabled column, and I'll put it underneath the page content. You can rearrange these however you wish to. And now that we have it enabled, scroll down to the home icon menu settings here, and first you need to choose how many columns you want in each row. And we want to have 3 columns in 1 row, so we just want 3 icon menu items here. So I'm just going to leave it to the default setting. And then to add an icon menu, click on the box here. And this first one, I'm going to call it Video. And for the description, I'm going to say check out our video page. And both the title and description will actually show up on the front end of your site. And then we need to select an icon by clicking Select an Icon. And I'm going to choose the film icon there. Then I'm going to scroll down, and then we need a link so that when people click on this icon, they get taken to the video page. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the front end, and I'm going to click on my video tab to open up the video page, and then I'm going to copy the URL and go back and paste that in where it says icon link. Alright, and then the next thing I'm going to do is click on Add Icon to add my second icon. Scroll down, and actually I can click here on this minus symbol to minimize those options for the one we've already set up. And for the second one, I'm going to call it Image Gallery. And for the description, I'm going to say check out our photos. And for the link, I'm going to go back to the front end and open up my Image Gallery page and copy the URL. And paste that in there. And I do want to point out something interesting going on here. It looks like we don't have an option to add our icon from the icon list like we did with the video page. So what I'm going to do is save the change and then scroll back down to those home icon menu settings again, click on the image gallery, and now we do have the option to select an icon. Just kind of a weird fluke, but something to be aware of. You need to save the change before you can access this select an icon tab. For the image gallery, I'm going to search for camera, so I'm just going to type in camera, and I'm going to choose the first camera icon that pops up. And then I'm going to scroll down and click on Add Icon for my third icon, and I'm going to give it a title, and this last one's going to be Contact Us. In the description, I'm going to say send us a message. And for the icon link, I'm going to go back to the front end of my site, open up my contact page, copy the URL of my contact page and paste that in. And then I need to do the same thing. I need to save the change before I can go back and add the icon. So then I'm going to scroll down to those same settings, click on the Contact Us tab, and now I can click on Select an Icon, and I'm going to choose the envelope and click on Save Changes. And now that we've got that set up, let's go back to the front end, and I'm going to click on the logo to be taken to the home page. And you can see we have our icon menu in place, and I can click on any of these, the video for example, and be taken to the video page because that's the URL that we pasted in there. And also when you go back and hover over the icon menus, it takes on the primary color of your color scheme, which in our case is the blue. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is create our homepage image slider, which of course is optional. And to do that, let's go back to the back end. And under Appearance, Theme Options, we're going to select Slider Settings. Now to enable a slideshow on your homepage where it says Choose a Home Image Slider, click here, and we're going to select the Flex slider. If you do not want a slideshow, you could just leave this on None. And then before we add our slider images, we need to know what dimension those images need to be. And of course I've got my images from Pixabay that we're going to use for our slideshow, and they're all approximately 1280 pixels wide. Now scroll down and you'll see we have a slider max height and a slider max width, and by default it's set to 1170 by 400 pixels. And you can play with these settings and readjust the size, but I've found that these dimensions work quite well for a slideshow. So these are the dimensions that I'm going to use. And remember, we can always take our main images, which again are from Pixabay, and they're about 1280 pixels wide, and we can always make them smaller without losing quality. And 1170 is going to be smaller, and it's also right about the same size as they are, just a little bit smaller than the images we start with. So this is going to work great. So now to resize our images, I'm going to go and close out of these tabs that I don't need and open up a new one and go back to picmonkey.com, to the home page of PicMonkey. And I'm going to go to, this time, click on Edit, or hover over Edit rather, and then I'm going to click on Computer because I'm going to choose a photo to edit from my computer. And then I need to open up the image that I want to work with. So I'm going to find the image that I've got in my pre-slides folder. We'll start with this one. And for some reason, if you get this message, just refresh Pixabay sometimes, or PicMonkey rather, sometimes it can do that. We'll try it again. Hover over Edit, click on Computer, and we'll open this image up again. There we go. Now, just to note, we are viewing this at 57% because this image is actually quite a bit larger than what you would be able to see on the screen. So we want it to fit, so we are viewing this at 57%. And I just want to show you, to crop an image out, we're just going to click on the crop tool and make sure you are on this Basic Edits tab. So we're click on Basic Edits and then click on the crop tool. And then we're going to change the size of our crop to 1170 by 400 and leave Scale Photo unchecked. And then we can click here and hold and drag this box over to where we want to crop. And we're just going to select this area of the photo, and then we're going to click on Apply. And now you can see we're viewing it at 95%. So all we have to do at this point is save the image to our hard drive. Click on Save. And this time we can use a JPG file. And usually a medium quality is going to be just fine, so we're going to stick to that. It's a good trade-off when in terms of the smallest file size possible with the greatest amount of quality. So we're going to click on Save to my computer. And I'm going to save this in a folder that I've created called Slide Images, and I'll call this Slide 1. Click on Save. And then we're going to open up another image. Click on Open. And this time I'm going to show you what you would do if you had a really large image. And this, we're not going to use this for our slideshow, but I do want to show you how to do this. It's going to involve an extra step. We're going to open the image that we have for our site background. Remember, it's quite a bit larger. This time we're only viewing this image at 43%. Now I want to show you what would happen if we just did the same exact step and went to Basic Edits and Crop and change this to 1170 by 400. You can see that we're only getting a small amount of the screen to work with. A very small percentage of the photo would actually be used for the slide in this case. And the reason, of course, is because this image is much larger. And this would work fine if that was your desired effect, but let's go ahead and cancel this. And to utilize more of the image, what we can do is under the Basic Edits icon, click on Resize, and we're going to scale this image down. And we're just going to scale it down to 1170, and then as long as you have Keep Proportions checked, which it should be by default, it will automatically fill in the height for you. So we're going to click on Apply, and now when we go back and click on the Crop tool and change this to 1170 by 400, you can see that we're utilizing the entire width of the image. So whichever way you wanted to do it there, I just wanted to point that out, that if you do have a larger image, you might need to do an extra step. But we're going to go ahead and click on cancel, and we're not going to worry about this image. We're going to open up our second slide image and do the exact same process that we did with the first one. And I'm going to say don't save because I don't need that. And I'm going to click on the crop tool, and 1170 by 400. We'll crop this section out, click on apply, and I'll save this image to my computer as slide 2. And then I'm going to do the same thing to my last slide image. Open my computer, open this one, and we're going to click on the crop tool. 1170 by 400, and remember, do not check scale photo in this case. And then I'm going to drag, click, hold, and drag, and we'll say right about there should be good. Actually, move it up a little bit. That looks good. And then I'm going to click on apply and save to my computer. And we'll save this as slide 3. All right, and then to add these slides to our website, we're going to go back to the back end. And under Appearance Theme Options, and of course within the slider settings, we're going to click on this new slide box, and then we're going to click on Upload to upload our slide image. Click on Upload Files, click on Select Files, and we're going to find the first slide on our hard drive. Click on Open, then click on Select. And then if you want to include text on your slide, you can do that with a title and description. And for this first slide, we will do that. I'm going to copy and paste some text in. This will be the title. And then for the description, I'm going to paste that in. And then you can also make the slide a clickable link to another page by pasting in a slide link. And we are going to do that with this first one. I'm going to go back to the front end of my site. And I want that first slide to link to my image gallery. So I'm going to open up my image gallery. Then I'm going to select the URL and copy that. Go back to the back end and paste this in where it says slide link. And I'm going to click on Save Changes. And then I'll add a new slide. Click on Add Slide. And then I'm going to click on the box here and click on Upload. And this time we're going to upload the image and not include any text or link. Click on Select Files. And we'll do slide 2. Open. And click on Select. And then we can click on the minus symbol to minimize that, and click on Add Slide, and then click on the box again, and we'll click on Upload and Upload Files, select Files, and we'll upload our third slide. Click on Select, and then we'll click to minimize. Then scroll down, and I do want to point out that autoplay is on by default. This is good because when the front page loads, the slideshow will automatically start playing. And then the slider pause time, this 7,000 represents 7,000 milliseconds. So this is going to be 7 seconds in between each slide before it transitions into the next one. I'm going to click on the slider and drag this down to 4,000. So it'll be 4 seconds that each slide shows up before transitioning. And then you do have several different transitions to choose from, or a couple different. We're going to leave that to the default fade. And then scroll down. Also, you need to, if you want to include captions, since we did add text on our first slide, we do need to turn that on. So we're going to click on On. And then we're going to click on Save Changes. And if we go back to the front end of our site and refresh the page, or actually we need to go to the home page, so we can click on the logo, or we can click on the home icon in our menu. And we now have a slideshow showing up. And notice that this first image, if I go back here, first image has the text that we added, and also I can click on it to be taken to the image gallery page. And if I go back, of course, we have our other two slides with the fade effect. And I do want to do one more thing for our slideshow. Let's go back to the back end, and under Appearance Theme Options, we're going to click on the mobile slider this time. And we do want to turn this feature on, so click on On. Now, text usually doesn't show up well on mobile devices when you have text on top of a slideshow. That text does not usually show up well. And for that reason, I would recommend either recreating your slideshow without text, and you could do that by adding images just like we did. And of course, you would choose the flex slider again. Or you can just enable this and just select none, and that's what we're going to do so that we actually just won't have a slideshow for mobile devices. But either way, we're going to click on Save Changes. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is set up our portfolio carousel on our home page. And to access the portfolio carousel option, you would go to Appearance Theme Options and go back to the Home Layout section. And right here, the portfolio carousel, we could click, hold, and drag that over. But first, we need to create several different portfolio items. And before we get going here, I want to point out that you do have to have the Virtue Pinnacle Toolkit installed. The Virtue Pinnacle Toolkit plugin has to be installed, and that's the exact same plugin that we installed when we created our contact form earlier in the video. So as long as you've done that step, then the first thing we need to do is assign one of our pages to be the portfolio page template. So we're going to do that by going to Pages, click on All Pages. And we created a page earlier in the video called Portfolio, so we're going to open that up in the page editor. And then under Template, we need to click here and change this to be the portfolio grid, and then click on Update. Alright, now that we've done that, we're ready to create our portfolio items. And basically, a portfolio is just a great way that the Virtue theme enables you to really showcase certain features or components of your brand or your business. And we're not going to go over it in too much detail, but I do want to show you how to create portfolio items so that you can have a portfolio carousel. So to do that, we're going to create our first portfolio by going to Portfolio, click on Add New. And the first thing you do is give your portfolio a title, and this one we're going to call Snow Skiing. And then I'm going to paste some text into the visual editor. Paste that in, press enter, paste it in a couple more times. Then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to set a featured image, and this is the image that's going to show up on your portfolio carousel. Click on Set Featured Image, click on Upload Files, click on Select Files, and I'll find the image on my hard drive here. Select the image and let it upload, and then click on Set Featured Image. And then we're not going to get into the portfolio post options in too much detail, but scroll up and you might need to click on Screen Options and make sure that portfolio post options are selected there. And the same with the featured image, to make sure your featured image option that we just added is still selected. And then scroll down, and we're going to leave these to the default, primarily the default settings, but I do want to point out that the project option, you do have the image option by default, which is what we're going to use, but you could do an image slider on your portfolio page or a carousel slider, for example. And if you were to change that to the image slider or carousel slider, at the bottom here, this is where you would add your other images for your slideshow, but we're going to leave it to the image project option, and that way all we need is the featured image. Then scroll down and you have these value 1 titles and value 2 titles and value 3. We're just going to use a couple of these, and you'll be able to see on the front end after we add in some text where these values show up, but it's just a neat feature. For value 1, we're going to call this Type of Adventure : and then for the description that's going to appear next to the title, we're going to say Snow Skiing. And for the value 2 title, we're just going to say Skills Needed, : and we'll say for the description, Level 3 Skiing Capabilities. And we won't worry about the value 3 title or description. And then scroll down, and where it says Excerpt, I do want to point out that we can add a custom excerpt, and I'll show you on the front end again where this shows up. But I'm going to say this is a custom excerpt for the Snow Skiing portfolio. and then scroll up to the top, and we're going to click on Publish. And then I can click on the View Portfolio item to view this portfolio on the front end of our site. And if you get this page, all you need to do is go back to the back end, click on the site title here, and we're going to go to Settings and click on Permalinks. And scroll down to the very bottom, and all you have to do is click on the Save Changes button. And now if we go back to Pages, or rather Portfolio, and click on All Portfolio, and then click on the Snow Skiing Portfolio to open that up in the page editor. And now if we click on View Portfolio Item, you'll see that that resolved it. And here we have our first portfolio item. The featured image is appearing here, and since we have the project option set to image, we can just click on that and it opens up in a light box like that. And I can just click here to get out of that. And we have the content that we added to the visual editor here, and then we have the value 1 title and description, and then the value 2 title and description here. And also, since we just assigned our portfolio page to have the portfolio grid template, we can click on our portfolio tab in the menu, and that's going to add our first portfolio item here. And when you hover over it, it gives you the title of the portfolio item. So when we add our other 3, they're going to also appear on the portfolio page just like that. So let's go back to the back end and add our other portfolio items. Click on the site title to be taken back to the back end. Go to Portfolio and click on Add New. And for the second portfolio, I'm just going to give it a title. This one's going to be Hang Gliding. And then I'm going to paste in a paragraph and do the same thing, press enter and paste that in a couple more times. And I'm not going to worry about any of these portfolio post options for this one. We've already gone over that. I'm going to click Set Featured Image, Upload Files, Select Files, and I'm going to upload the hang glider image. Click on Open, Set Featured Image, and then we're going to click on Publish. Then we're going to add our third portfolio item. We can just click on Add New here. And this one's going to be canoeing. And I'll paste in a paragraph. Paste that in a few times, and then scroll down, click on Set Featured Image, Upload Files, Select Files, select the image, click on Open, click on Set Featured Image, and publish this portfolio item. And then we'll click on Add New to add our final portfolio item. And this one's going to be called Fishing. I'll paste in some content. Enter, paste that in again, and scroll down, Set Featured Image, Upload Files, Select Files, select the image, click on Open, and click on Set Featured Image, and then we'll publish. And now let's view the front end of our site here, and I'm going to click on the portfolio page in the menu. And now you see we have all four of our portfolio items. It looks like we put the wrong image in for fishing. So I'm going to go back to the back end and scroll down, and I'm going to remove this featured image and click on Set Featured Image, Upload Files, Select Files, and select the correct image there. Click on Open, Set Featured Image, scroll up and update the portfolio item. Go back to our front end and refresh. There we go. And now we have all four of our portfolio items here on the portfolio page, and we can click on any of these, and that's going to pull up the portfolio page with the featured image and the text. And when you're viewing portfolio items, you can scroll through just like this with these tabs to see the different portfolios, or you can click on this tab to be taken back to the portfolio page. Now let's go back to the back end and let's add our portfolio carousel to our home page. And to do that, we'll go back to the back end, go to Appearance, click on Theme Options. And then we're going to click on Home Layout, scroll down, and we're going to click, hold, and drag the portfolio carousel over to the enabled column and put it at the bottom underneath our icon menu. Release, and we'll click on Save Changes. Go back to the front end of our WordPress site, and I'm going to click on the Home icon there to be taken to the home page. And then if we scroll down underneath our icon menu, you see that we now have the portfolio carousel. And you can click on these arrows to activate the carousel. And you can also, of course, click on these individually to be taken to the individual portfolio page, just like that. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is set up our blog. A blog is a very useful and optional tool that you can use to communicate with your followers. And basically, a blog page will display excerpts from your most recent blog posts at the top. So every time you create a new blog post, it will automatically show up at the top of whatever page you designate to be your blog page. And let's go back to the back end, and just to give you a quick refresher here, to set up which page we want to be our blog page, we do that by going to Settings and click on Reading. And we already decided we wanted our front page to display a static page, and so we selected that here, and then we chose the home page we created to be our front page. And then if you want to have a blog where it says post page, you would select which page that you've created you want to be your blog page. And if you don't want a blog at all, you could just leave that on select like that. But we did decide we wanted the page we created called blog to be our posts page, so we're going to leave it on that, and then you would just save the changes. And let's go back to the front end of our site, and I'm going to click on the blog menu item here. And notice that we have what's called an excerpt from our sample blog post. Just like WordPress comes with a sample page by default, it also comes with a sample blog post. So this is the excerpt from that sample blog post, and we can click on the title and be taken to the full contents of the blog post. So if we go back to the blog page, just remember, it's displaying an excerpt from your most recent post at the top, and if you had older posts, they would show up below it. And let's go back to the back end, and we're going to delete the sample blog post by going to Posts, click on All Posts, and we're going to hover over the Hello World sample post and click on Trash. And then to add our first blog post, we're going to click on Add New, or we could go to Posts and click on Add New. And the visual editor here works exactly the same way as it worked with the page editor and when we created new pages and when we created our portfolio items. We first give it a title, and for this first post I'm going to call this the land blog post, and then I'm going to paste in some content, and I'm just going to use text for this and paste that in there and copy that and paste it a couple more times. Then we're going to scroll down, and just like we did with our portfolio pages, we're going to create or set a featured image. So click on Set Featured Image. We're going to upload a file. Click on Select Files. Find the file on your hard drive. And then click on Set Featured Image. And then another thing you can do with a blog is organize your blog posts into blog categories, and this is a really useful tool so that it makes it easier for your users to browse your content. And to add a category, click on this Add New Category, and we're going to call this category Land, and then we're going to click on Add New Category, and that's going to put this blog post in the Land blog category. Then we're going to click on Publish, and now if we go back to the front end of our site and click on our blog in the tab, you'll see that we now have our land blog post, and you get an image of the post, which is going to be the featured image, and then you have the excerpt here, and you can either click on the title of the post, or you can click on this continued to view the full contents of the blog post. And of course, if you had used the visual editor to add images, they would also show up here. And let's go back, and I want to show you how to set it so that the featured image of the blog post actually shows up on the individual blog post page above the title and the content. To do that, let's go back to the back end, and we're going to go to Appearance and click on Theme Options. Then scroll down and click on miscellaneous settings, and then we'll scroll down towards the bottom. And under blog post defaults, next to blog post head content default, we're going to select this and select image, and then click on save changes. And now if we go back to the front end of our site and refresh this individual blog post page, you'll see that we now have our featured image showing up at the top. So if we go back to the blog page where we have the excerpt, we also have the featured image there, and then we can click on that to be taken to the actual blog post page, and we also have the image there. So let's go back and create our second blog post. Go back to the back end and hover over posts and click on add new. And we'll call this water blog post. Then I'll paste in some content. And scroll down and we'll click on set featured image, upload files, select files, and we'll select the image we want for our featured image. Click on open and click on set featured image. And we could assign this blog post to the category that we created by selecting it, and we could also assign it to multiple categories by checking multiple boxes, but we're going to uncheck that and add a new category, and we're going to call this water. Let's type that in, click on add new category. Let's try that again there, add new category. There we go, add new category at the bottom is what you need to select, and then click on publish. And now if we go back to the front end of our site, scroll up and click on our blog tab, we now have both blog posts showing up. We have the excerpt from both posts with the featured image from both posts, and since the water blog post is the most recent blog post, it is showing up at the top, and of course you can click on it and that's going to open it up as an individual blog post. Another cool thing about using a blog on your site is that you can enable comments on your blog posts and allow your users to post comments. And if you scroll down, the comments would show up below the contents of the posts, and by default they are disabled, but we can change that by going to the back end. And comments are controlled in two places. The first place is go to settings, click on discussion, and up here at the top where it says default article settings, allow people to post comments on new articles is not checked by default. If we were to check this and then scroll to the bottom and save that change, then from this point forward every new blog post would automatically enable comments. And now we're going to leave this unchecked because the second place you can control comments for your posts is on the individual post page in the page editor. So we're going to leave that unchecked. And then scroll down, and actually this setting right here where it says other comment settings, users must be registered and logged in to comment. I'm actually going to uncheck that and change it to comment author must fill out name and email. This way people don't have to register and log in to comment, they just have to fill out their name and email. And then scroll down to where it says before comment appears, I'm going to uncheck comment must be manually approved, and then I'm going to check comment author must have a previously approved comment. This way, if someone were to comment, you would have to approve their first comment, but once you knew that they were a legitimate person and not spam, then you wouldn't have to continue to approve that person's comment. Then we're going to scroll down and click on Save Changes. And by the way, to approve comments, if someone were to comment on a post that you enabled comments for, you would click on this comments here and be taken to the comment page where you can hover over the comment that would appear if there were comments, and you could approve or you could trash the comment. Now the second place we control comments is by opening up the individual posts page. So we're going to go to posts and click on all posts. And let's say we want to enable comments for the water blog posts. I'm going to open that up in the post page editor. And then go over to the right, click on screen options, and then make sure discussion is checked. And then we can minimize screen options. Scroll down, and all we have to do is click on allow comments, check that box, scroll up, and we're going to update the page. And then we're going to go back to the front end of our site, and we're currently on the water blog posts page, and we can refresh. And then there's now a comment option here, and notice that because I am logged in to the back end of my site, it has me logged in. But if I were to log out and then go back to that post page, since we're logged out, we no longer have the admin bar. And if I go to blog and then open up the water blog post and scroll down, this is what it would look like for your users. You would have a name, email, and an optional website, and then the comment section, and they could just submit the comment. But we're going to go ahead and log back in. And the next thing we're going to do is add excerpts from our blog posts to our front page, our home page. And to do that, we're going to go to Appearance and click on Theme Options. And we'll make sure we're on the home layout settings here. And then first we need to drag over the latest blog posts and move it from the disabled column to the enabled column. And I'm going to put it at the bottom underneath the portfolio carousel. Just release. Then I'm going to scroll down, and where it says Home Blog Settings, we have the option to add a title. So I'm going to say check out the latest from our blog. And then you can choose how many posts you want to be displayed on the home page. And by default, it's set to 4. But since we only have 2 posts, it really doesn't matter. So we'll just leave it on 4. So that if we were to add another post, it would automatically add to the front page. And then you could also choose to limit the posts on your home page to a certain category. And you could click here and select one of the categories that you wanted to display on your front page. But we want to display all of the categories, so we'll just leave that blank there. And then scroll down. And right here, you have the option for the latest post to be the post excerpt or to be the full contents of the post. And we want to leave that to be the post excerpt. You could experiment with the full post option if you wanted to. Then we're going to save the change. And the next thing I'm going to do is open my front end in a new tab and scroll down. And you see we now have our title here, check out the latest from our blog, and we have the 2 excerpts from our most recent blog posts. And we can click, of course, on these to be taken to the full posts page, just like that. And the last thing we're going to do is discuss widgets and widget areas. And widgets basically enable you to add additional features and functionality to your website using what are called widget areas. And different themes will have different widget areas available. With the Virtue theme, we have a sidebar widget area, and we also have the option to utilize 2, 3, or 4 footer widget areas. Now to see the sidebar widget area on the front end of our website, let's open up the front end in a new tab. And I'm going to go back to my About page. And here on the right, this is the sidebar widget area, and by default it's populated with 6 widgets. We have the search widget, the recent posts widget, the recent comments, archives, categories, and meta. And this is what comes standard with a default WordPress installation. And of course we'll have complete control over what widgets show up in our widget areas. Now to access your widgets and widget areas and see what you have available, go back to the back end and you go to Appearance and click on Widgets. And here on the left you have all of your available widgets to work with, and by default WordPress will come with several widgets, and also oftentimes different themes will come with widgets of their own, which is certainly the case with the Virtue theme. And then here on the right we have all of our widget areas to work with. We have the primary sidebar widget area, which as you can see is populated with the same 6 widgets that we saw on the front end of our site. And then we have a sidebar 1 widget area and 4 footer column widget areas. And don't worry about those for now. We're going to go over those here in a moment. Now to remove widgets from your widget areas, all you have to do is make sure the widget area is open, and you do that by clicking on the arrow next to the widget area title. So that would close it, and if we click on the arrow again, that would open it. And then you can click, hold, and drag these widgets over to the left side to the available widgets area and release, and that will move them out of your widget area. So we'll do that with all 6 of these. Click, hold, and drag, and release. And now if we go back and view the front end of our site and refresh the page, you'll see that of course we still have a sidebar area, but it's not populated with any widgets since we've removed all of those. And then to add widgets to your widget areas, let's go back to the back end. And again, make sure that your widget area is open by clicking on the arrow. This is going to be open. All you do is find the widget you want to add. So I'm going to scroll down. And let's say I want to add this virtue image widget to my primary sidebar widget area. I would click, hold, and drag and move this up and release it into the top there, just like that. And then if I wanted to remove it, I could click, hold, and drag and release it back over to the available widgets. And then also another method of adding widgets, you can click on the widget area or the widget you want to add and click on it like that. Then scroll down and you can choose one of the widget areas to assign it to. We do want it on the primary sidebar, so I'm going to click on Add Widget, and that's going to do the exact same thing. And then for this virtue image widget, I'm going to add my logo, so I'm going to click on Upload. And I could upload the file like we've been doing, but since we already have the logo uploaded to our media library, I can find it in the media library. So I'm going to find my logo, click on it, and click on Select. And then you have the option to make the image a link to a clickable link to another page. And if you wanted to do that, you would just paste in the URL here where it says image link. And we're going to do that and make this image a link to our About page. So I'm going to go back to the front end to my About page and select the URL at the top, copy that, go back to my widget area and paste that in there. And then where it says image opens, we need to change that to the same window. And of course, if you didn't want it to be a clickable link, you could just leave that to no link. And then you would leave this blank here. And then we're going to add some text beneath our image. And I'm just going to copy and paste some text that I've got written out here. Paste that in, and then I need to click on Save to save this widget. And then the next thing I'm going to do is add what's called a Categories widget. So I'm going to find it over here on the left, click on it, and I'm going to assign it to my primary sidebar and click on Add Widget. And by the way, if I wanted this to be on top of the image widget, I could click, hold, and drag and move it to the top just like that, but I do want it to be beneath the virtue image widget, so I'm going to leave it there. And then I'm going to click on the arrow here to bring up the Categories widget options. And I'm going to give this a title, and just so you know, the Categories widget will show the blog categories. So when we created our blog posts, each of our posts included a category. We had the land category and we had the water category. So the Categories widget will display those categories on the front end. And we're just going to call this blog categories. And I'm going to click on Save. And now if I go back to the front end of my site and refresh the page, you see that we now have our virtue image widget with the text that we added in, and then the clickable logo that we added. And then we also have our blog categories widget, and I can click on these blog categories and be taken to a list of blog posts that had all of the blog posts that were within those categories. And since we only have one blog post that is in the land category, for example, that's the only one showing here. And also, when you create new blog posts with different categories, they will automatically be added here as additional blog categories. And then of course I can click on the logo to be taken to the About page, because that is the URL that we specified there. Now let's say you wanted your About page to be a full width page and not have a sidebar at all. To make that change, you would go back to the back end, and we would go to Pages and click on All Pages and open up your About page in the page editor. And just like we did with our image gallery page where we made it full width, we would do the same thing with our About page and go down to Template and change it from the default template to the full width template. And then we can click on Update. And then we can go back to the front end of our site and refresh the page. And you'll see that we now have the full width About page. Also, what if you wanted a sidebar on your About page that had only specific widgets that weren't the same widgets that appeared on the sidebar throughout the rest of your site? I'm going to show you how to do that without actually doing it myself. You would go to the back end, and then you would go to Appearance and click on Theme Options. And then you would go down to Miscellaneous Settings, click on that, and scroll down all the way towards the bottom where it says Create Sidebars. What you would do is create a custom sidebar by clicking on this Add More button, and then you would give the custom sidebar a new title, and then you would click on Save Changes. Then after you've done that, you would be able to go to Appearance, and you would click on Widgets. And just like we have this sidebar 1 widget area, you would have your custom widget area showing up, and you would be able to add widgets to your custom widget area just like we've been doing. And then you would save those widgets, and then you would be able to open up the page that you wanted to assign that widget area to. And we would go to Pages, click on All Pages. And if we wanted to assign that widget area to our About page, for example, we would open that up in the page editor. And where it says template, we would select the sidebar template, and then we would have to update the page. And then after you've updated the page, you would be able to scroll down, and you would now have these new sidebar options appearing, and you would be able to choose the sidebar, and you would be able to choose the newly created widget area that you've assigned widgets to, and you would select that there, and then you would scroll up and you would update the page. And also, to make sure your sidebar options are showing up after you've updated the page with the sidebar template, you need to go to Screen Options and make sure that sidebar options are selected there. But we're going to leave this About page to our default template, so I'm going to change that back to the default template so that it shows our primary sidebar with the widgets in the primary sidebar widget area. Click on Update. And then just to ensure that we've made the correct change, we'll go back to the front end and refresh our About page. Alright, and that looks good. We have our primary sidebar back in place there. The next thing we're going to do is set up our footer widget areas, and to do that, let's go back to the back end. And to specify how many footer widget areas we want to have, go to Appearance, click on Theme Options. Then click on Main Settings up here at the top, and then next to Footer Widget Layout, you would select how many footer widget areas you want, and we do want to select 4, so we're going to keep it to the default option, but you do have 3 or 2 as a choice. And then you would save the change, and then you can go to Appearance and click on Widgets. And you would have however many footer widget areas you selected. We have 4, so we have 4 showing up here. And in this first footer column, I'm going to add another Virtue image widget, and I'm going to select footer column 1 and click on Add Widget. And then I'm going to add the exact same logo and text that we had in our Virtue image widget in our sidebar. So I'm going to click on Upload, and then within my media library I'm going to select the logo file, click on Select, and then I'm going to grab the About Us URL, copy that, go back and paste that in, and change image opens into same window. And then for the text, I'll copy and paste the same text we had earlier. And then I'm going to click on Save. Then I can click on this arrow to minimize those options. And then for my footer column 2, I'm going to go down and add some social media widgets, or the Virtue Social Links widget. Click on that, and I'm going to click on footer column 2 and click on Add Widget. And then I'm going to give it a title and just call it Social Media. And then you have all these different social media pages, and they are associated with the social media icons that come with the Virtue theme. And we're just going to use a few of these, and what you would do is paste in the URL for your individual social media pages. Now I'm just going to use the home page for these social media pages, but you would definitely want to use your actual social media URL. So for Facebook, the home page would be facebook.com. For Twitter, it would just be twitter.com. And then I'll do Google Plus, will be the last one, http://www.plus.google.com. And then I'm going to come down and click on Save. And then I'll scroll up and click on the arrow to minimize those options. And then for footer column 3, I'm going to find the Virtue Contact widget, click on that, and assign it to footer column 3 and click on Add Widget. And I'm going to give this a title that just says Give Us a Call. And then the company name, I'm going to put Mock Outdoor Adventure. And then you can fill out the rest of these options if you want to. I'm just going to put in a phone number and click on Save. And then for footer column 4, I'm going to add a categories widget again, just like we did with our sidebar, and assign it to footer column 4. Click on Add Widget, and then I'll give it a title of Blog Categories and click on Save. And now if we go back and view the front end of our site and scroll down, just so you see we don't have any footer widgets by default. When we refresh after adding those, you see that they are all now showing up. And just so you can see the social media links, when you hover over these, you can click on them to be taken to the social media link that you pasted in there, just like that. And of course, you would want to put your social media link so you were taken to your social media page. Then let's scroll up to the top here, and the last widget option you have with the Virtue theme is this top bar area, and by default it includes the search widget. Now to control this, let's go back to the back end and go to Appearance, Theme Options, and click on Top Bar Settings. Scroll down, and first of all, you have the option to turn off the search widget, and you could do that by selecting off where it says display search in top bar. You could select off and then save the change, and then that would make the search widget disappear from the top bar. Or you can actually enable the top bar to be a widget area by turning that on here. And if you did that, turn this on and saved the change, then you would be able to go to Appearance, Widgets, and you would then have a top bar widget area. But we're just going to leave this to the default setting and have it show the search widget in the top bar, just like it is by default. Well, congratulations, you've now completed the journey. Hopefully you learned a lot and feel that you have a good grasp on using the Virtue theme. Please don't forget to like the video on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, comment on the video, add the video as a favorite, and share the video with other friends and family. These things really help me out. Also, if you do need hosting, go to HostGator.com, and my coupon codes again are WPSculptor 1 cent and WPSculptor 25. As always, I'm entirely grateful for your continued support. I wouldn't be able to do this without it, and I look forward to having you join me for the next video.